break during the COVID-19 pandemic, and we have seen an uptick post-COVID-19.
Good day, I'm Theodore Henry, and this is your JIS News for Tuesday, June 18, 2024. Jamaica is ripe for investment. That's the message delivered to delegates attending the 10th Biennial Jamaica Diaspora Conference on Monday. Minister of Investment, Industry and Commerce, Senator Aubin Hill, made the case during the first plenary session of the conference. He argued that Jamaica had the second most attractive investment climate in the Caribbean, behind Guyana.
There is no foreign exchange control in Jamaica. Clean money comes in, clean money goes out. We have a legal system that takes us still to the Privy Council. You can't get a better place to do real estate. Look at our infrastructure. 20,000 hotel rooms going up, another 2,000 in the next 6 months. This is the place to invest.
Chief Executive Officer of VM Finance Limited and VM Overseas Offices Group, Leighton Smith, also made the case, insisting that Jamaica's trade policies and strategic location make it ideal for business.
It affords them the opportunity to gain access to markets. CARICOM, you're talking about the United States. So depending on where you are, let's say, for example, you're in continental Europe, and you may have a bit of challenges in getting to the United States or even Canada, then how about coming home? Because we have the perfect landscape.
The Diaspora Conference wraps up tomorrow, June 19th. Meanwhile, investors are being urged to make use of the information and services within the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce to improve the ease and cost of doing business in Jamaica. The urging comes from Portfolio Minister Senator Aubin Hill, who was speaking at a recent JANAC Chief Executive Officer breakfast and rebranding function.
Get on the website of the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. Look at our 20 agencies. If you want to do free zone business, you look at Jamaica Special Economic Zone Authority. You want to register a company, you can sit in your office and do it from the Companies Office of Jamaica. JAMPRA is there to help you with investment. You want to start a business and get some hand holding, go to Jamaica Business Development Corporation, and all of that is there to help you before you even start spending legal fees. So we really want to reduce your cost of doing business in Jamaica.
Back at the Diaspora Conference, a significant donation was delivered to the Ministry of Health, a 40-liter atmospheric water generator. The device, which is valued at approximately $2,000, was contributed by the Jarrett Foundation, based in London. It was formally handed over to the Health Ministry's Permanent Secretary, Dustin Bryan, on Monday. The innovative device promises to provide a sustainable water source for health services.
It will pull another 30 litres of water out of the air. There is no plumbing needed, no pipes needed, no anything.
The government will be investing $6.31 billion into the rehabilitation of agricultural research facilities over the next 6 years. This investment represents phase 2 of the Rehabilitation of Research Centers project, which was launched on June 13 at the Bodles Research Center in St. Catherine.
The central objective of the phase 2 is to ensure that all our research centers are seen as centers of excellence, to ensure that they facilitate the government's drive to contribute to economic growth, development, import substitution, and employment generation.
The research, training, and administrative facilities will be upgraded for use by scientists, extension officers, and agricultural training institutions. At Bodles, the work will include construction and renovation of a dairy parlor, warehouse and storage space, immature paddock, cattle handling facility, scale house and clerk office, as well as the feed mixing facility and administration building. 4 additional research stations will be impacted by the project. They are Top Mountain in St. Andrew, Orange River in St. Mary, Hounslow in St. Elizabeth, and Montpelier in St. James. Commuters are being advised to exercise caution while engaging ride-sharing apps until there is legislation in place to properly regulate the operation of this evolving transport mechanism. On June 4, the Transport Minister Darrell Vaz had announced plans to ban ride-share apps for an initial one-year period while the sector's operations are reviewed and regularized. But in a release to the press on Friday, the ministry advised that, to date, only one telecommunications company had responded to a letter requesting a restriction on access to these apps to effect the ban. The delayed response from that company requested supporting legal documentation that indicates the authority to implement such restrictions, while the other telecoms provider is yet to respond. There is therefore no ban in place. Coming out of that, Minister Vaz says intervention will be made to establish regulation that prevents telecommunications companies from denying a request from the government which seeks to protect national security. The Transport Minister says he will be engaging his colleague ministers of National Security and Justice and the Cabinet to work on this. In the meantime, the government has taken a decision to allow local ride-sharing companies to continue operating, while the Transport Authority continues to develop the regulatory framework for the industry. And finally, the Mico University College Child Assessment and Research in Education Mico Care Center is now registering students for its annual summer intervention program. It will run from July 8 to 25 at two locations, 5 Manhattan Road in Kingston and 2 Royce Street in St. Anne's Bay. In addition to literacy and numeracy remediation, the Kingston program will introduce a new component focusing on computer technology. Meanwhile, the St. Anne's Bay program will offer children the opportunity to explore their creative side through art and craft activities. Director of the Mico Care Center, Dr. Sharon Anderson Morgan, emphasizes that the summer intervention program provides a nurturing and non-judgmental environment for students. Key features of the program include small class sizes and personalized instruction to ensure each student receives the attention and support necessary for their development. Parents and guardians are encouraged to take advantage of this opportunity. The registration deadline is Wednesday, June 26. For additional information, interested persons may call 876-929-7720 for Kingston or 876-972-1174 for St. Anne. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
They are boring, can't wait till the summer step in.
So what are you going to so
Me? No, sir, I might boy them they are planning to touch by the nigger side.
I'm so glad man, time to go camping bro.
No bad man, when I depend on the camp, they charge.
No brother, if you don't go brother, you're not going to be better.
So, Nile.
You know, sometimes you have your good child home, and eventually you still cannot sway for your child behind your back. In front of you, you can sway for them, but behind you, there is nothing at all you can sway for them about. You know, you have your good child home, and meeting other children then, friends, you know you will have a changed child. Whenever time I talk to him, he's not hearing.
Adia's picnic, Niam Rockstone. But Christiana High School is giving disobedient students a break and a chance to cut their teeth on a better future through its positive enrichment behavior camp.
This camp basically started about a decade ago, from 2013. We took a break
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of our post-cabinet press briefing. We have a very, very special edition at the Diaspora Conference, and we want to thank everyone who has put on this extraordinary conference for inviting us and allowing us to be able to do the post-cabinet press briefing here. We always have the post-cabinet press briefing at Jamaica House. This is very different to have it somewhere else, but it is also a symbol of the importance of the diaspora to this administration that we are doing the first outside broadcast of the post-cabinet press briefing from the Diaspora Conference. And so I will start as I usually start in relation to some of the key activities coming out of cabinet and also that are being pursued. The first one I will speak to is the Biggie program, and we did have during the course of last week some data that went out in relation to that program, and that's a program that's geared towards our MSMEs, and that is being done through the DBJ, and they were able to put out their report last week, and it showed that several MSMEs, 1,353 micro, small, and medium enterprises have received support, which amounts to over $5.5 million US in their Biggie program. And Biggie is boosting innovation, growth, and entrepreneurship ecosystems program. And that is through additional funding from the European Union. And we are very grateful to the EU for that support because it is providing a lot of good support to our small business sector. Since 2010, the DBJ more generally has provided 129,000 loans to small businesses in Jamaica, valued at over $64 billion. And they've also provided 3,000 vouchers, and these are not loans, so these are grants that are given that total approximately $700 million to our small businesses. So there is a lot of support that we have been able to see in these reports going to our small business sector, and we know that the small business is really the engine of any economy, and this support is very important. The other thing I will highlight is in relation to the Ministry of Agriculture, and they are investing $6.3 billion into the rehabilitation of agricultural research facilities across the island. Now, a lot of times we don't think of research as one of the more, popular things to speak about, but it is absolutely important, especially in the area of agriculture. And so these facilities are going to be used to do research in all of the areas that the ministry works in. And so the Bodles facility is the first one, and $1 billion will be spent on that research facility. But there will also be 5 total research stations across Jamaica. So they're going to be in there'll be a Top Mountain station in St. Andrew, an Orange River station in St. Mary, the Hounslow station in St. Elizabeth, and the Montpelier station in St. James. And these investments are very important to agriculture. We cannot have a sustainable agricultural sector without having the kind of research facilities that are necessary. The other one that I will speak to, which was passed in the Senate, and the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith took that through the Senate, which was our National Natural Disaster Fund. Again, this is another mechanism that we are using to boost the resilience of Jamaica against natural disasters. And so this fund is being established under the Financial Administration and Audit Amendment Bill, and it again says that if there is any emergency, we will be able to have funds that can help Jamaica to recover from that. And the last thing I'll point out, and as always, every week, I have so many things that are going on that I have to pick which ones to speak to. But the digital legal database is another important one, which was announced last week. The administration is looking at having a Jamaica legal information portal to enhance public access to legal information. This is very, very important. It is making all of our laws accessible to the public and accessible in a format that can be readily accessed, and also that explains what's in the laws. And so this is being spearheaded by the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs and led by the Honorable Marlene Malahoo Fort. And we endorse this because we believe that the laws that have been passed are the laws for the people of Jamaica, and the people of Jamaica have to understand what they are and know what they are and be able to interface with them. And so this is a very important initiative that we have. I will stop there on those initiatives because we have to get to the Diaspora conference. And I know the media wants to know what's happening, what has happened at this tremendous event. The Prime Minister was here yesterday for the official launch. Everything has been done by both our Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Kamina Johnson-Smith, who has led everything and led it beautifully, and also the Honorable Orlando Terlong, who is our Minister with responsibility for Diaspora Affairs and has gone around the diaspora, promoted this non-stop, and worked tirelessly to have this event be a success. And they're both here today, and they both will be speaking to you on the Diaspora Conference. And we also have Dr. Kevin Brown, who is the principal, I say president of UTEC. Am I using the right term? President of UTEC, who was a very esteemed member of the diaspora who has come home to serve our country and has put the conference program together, and he's here to speak about his work that he has done. I also have to acknowledge some other persons who are in the audience who may not get a chance to speak. Our conference chair for this year, welcome, Mr. Courtney Campbell from the VM Group, the CEO of the VM Group, who has done a tremendous job, and the support is invaluable. And we thank you, the administration thanks you, thank you, thank you. And we also want to thank the legacy partners, and these are those who have never left the diaspora hanging, have never left the government hanging in or work to get the diaspora to better understand the work that's happening in Jamaica and to also facilitate their support to Jamaica. And so I have to acknowledge in the audience, we have our reps from the JN Group. I know there are three. I was told it was Claudine Allen, but I do see Marie Stewart Lewin here also, and I see Sania Spencer here too, and also from the Grace Kennedy Group, which is our other legacy sponsor, Grace Burnett, and we want to thank all of them. An event like this cannot happen without key partners, and you have been key partners for 10 editions of this Diaspora Conference, and we thank you. And so I'm going to hand over very quickly to Minister Johnson-Smith, and she will be followed by, with brief remarks from the man who has been charged with Diaspora Affairs, and also Dr. Brown will also come. And we have a special member of the diaspora who is in the audience, Mr. Hugh Simmons, and he is going to come and speak about it, but I'll introduce him when we get to that point. Minister Johnson-Smith.
Thank you, Minister Morris Dixon, for your support, and thank you for creating the opportunity for this very special post-cabinet briefing so that we are able to share from here in beautiful Montego Bay, St. James, the amazing experience that we are having together. I want to start by just expressing thanks to the amazing team that has made this happen. Senator Morris Dixon has, of course, mentioned Minister Terlong, who has been driving the conference efforts, promoting it overseas. But I also want to mention my permanent secretary, Sheila Seeley-Monteith, Ambassador Seeley-Monteith, who has been involved in every element of the work that we have had to do, and our acting undersecretary responsible for diaspora and consular affairs, Mrs. Ariel Bowen, who has been a part of the diaspora as she has been posted overseas as well, and has been at the core of our efforts to make this a success. I could not do it without my team, and I really want to express that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade at every level has been represented, whether it's their job or not their job. They have been here on conference duty, and they have been doing a phenomenal job. I really want to express thanks to them publicly, and thank you again. I want to say that our heads of foreign service, who are also here, who were on the ground, reaching out to people every day, calling those that they know, reminding them why it is good to be here, that they are here as well with their communities, engaging and making sure that we're able to do the follow-ups, that we're able to build on the connections that are made here. And that's a very critical part of reflecting the intentional way in which we're approaching responding to the diaspora. So it's not about only coming and having the conversations. And as I keep saying, conversations are a critical part of what happens when we meet in conference, but they are a part of a whole continuum of responsive listening, partnership, and collaboration that delivers the success and the promise of diaspora engagement. I want to also say, and again, just let me add my thanks to our conference chair and our legacy partners represented here today. We cannot do it without you. Every year, we cannot do it without you. We cannot do it without you in between as well, because you are there in our diaspora communities, delivering services to them and keeping them committed as well. And we know you also support us in our missions overseas as well, where we're located in traditional locations. We want to start moving into the non-trads now. And, and as the Jamaica-Ghana Chamber of Commerce is here meeting with JAMPRO, discussing how it is that we expand and move beyond. And we know that we do have some major companies investing there as well. We should bring Supreme Ventures on board to start to sponsor now. They're in Ghana now. So we should be looking to build on those partnerships. But I really want to emphasize the fact that when I became minister, it became one of the key goals. Foreign policy has always included diaspora engagement, and it became my goal, together with the incredible team at Foreign Affairs and in the Diaspora Department, for us to widen and deepen diaspora engagement. And I think this 10th Biennial Diaspora Conference is a demonstration of the success of that work. And I use the word success with confidence here as we start day 3, because having 1,200 participants coming from 17 countries, moving, our beautiful US, UK, and Canada diasporans have showed up in full force. But we also have gone beyond, as close as Cayman and Bahamas, and as far as Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, and the UAE, and beyond the UK to continental Europe with France, Germany, the Kingdom of Netherlands, Belgium. And they are here doing work. Dr. Sandra Collet-Durand, who is from the French community, she will be launching a mentorship academy, which is going to be a virtual framework which will allow our young people to benefit from mentorship and connections within the diaspora. An amazing and tangible result that will come out of this conference. That will also happen together with our partnerships with the International Organization for Migration and the IDB to create the two important portals, our Diaspora Engagement Model portal and our registration portal. The registration portal will be, again, both are in response to listening to the diaspora's needs and what they want to happen. The Diaspora Engagement Model is going to allow for direct access to investment information and information about services of direct interest to the diaspora. And the registration portal will allow for networking. Who are we? Who are we doing business with? What businesses do we offer? What charities are we starting? What services do we offer? How can we support each other and build each other together in the countries of our chosen residents? And how can we as Jamaicans connect with Jamaicans in the diaspora where we want to work with them and partner. This was a question that came up to me quite a bit from young people yesterday. Our youth participation has also been significant, and I know Minister Terrelong will speak about that. Again, another part of the intentional expansion with the launch of the Global Jamaica Diaspora Youth Council in 2020. So again, our young people wanted to participate more. We gave them their own council, and they have been using that council to develop their own vision, working with us in the ministry with support in order to go forward and engage with Jamaicans here so that they can feel a deeper connection. And that's how we sustain the diaspora. Minister Terrelong will be on a panel today speaking more about that, and undoubtedly they will come up with more important and groundbreaking decisions as to how we can do even better and more in that area. I want to reflect on the fact that spirituality is just a big part of our sense ourselves, whether we are here or abroad. We started with the blessings of the Burchell Baptist Memorial Church, and we also had our Bishop Clive Porter from the diaspora sharing the word with us, and that set us in a mood of unity and a spirit of unity. But we will also have a panel later today on the role of the church in the diaspora, and how it is that we nurture that sense of self overseas as well. We have had the amazing cultural immersion. Victoria Mutual, our key sponsor, our legacy sponsor, brought Pichi Pachi to life for the diaspora, and they will never be the same because they are now reenacting bits of the script. They are looking at how they can bring Pichi Pachi overseas to give more opportunities to our extremely talented actors and actresses and singers, how it is that we can ensure that we are sharing quality, creative and youthful Jamaican creative productions overseas. So it's a cultural benefit here, it's entertainment, but it's also creating opportunities and connections. So we want to thank VM for that. We also want to thank Jane for their personal connection with Agent Sasko, who I missed last night because I was on the work elsewhere. And when I made it to the event, everybody had left already. But it's all right, I will catch the next one. I will have to do that. And I also wanted to say that we're very much looking forward to what Grace Kennedy will have for us this evening. We don't know yet what it is, but I'm sure we will be pleasantly surprised. I want to reflect also on yesterday's ceremonial opening, which sought to again reflect this synergy and this continuum between Jamaica and the diaspora. We had our Prime Minister sharing strong reflections on Jamaica's history, our current context, and our vision to deliver on Jamaica's promise, and where it is and how it is that partnership with the diaspora fits into that. We had it also taking place in the context of the presence and remarks of the leader of the opposition, and we had our young people bearing flags for the 17 sovereign countries where our populations reside and who are represented here at this conference. And for us, together with the violinist from the diaspora, 15-year-old Leah Flynn, who just expressed all that is good about Jamaica and good Jamaica young people and our talent. It symbolized every aspect of what is good about diaspora engagement. And that morning set us off on an excellent path for the discussions on creative industries, on health, on education, and other matters which have also or will deliver clear outcomes on which we will continue to act as we learn and listen to each other. So I want to just say that diaspora engagement is important to us, and this conference reflects its importance. And if I have the opportunity, I will, on another occasion, share some of the stories and some of the connections that have occurred here at the commercial, at the philanthropic, and at the individual level. When you hear them, you cannot help but be inspired. And I just see Andrea Dempster-Chung, who was one of our panelists on the creative panel, with clear, pointed and targeted suggestions as to what we can do more and better together. And I hope you're having outreach and links on the Culture app, etc., because the fact is that here is where decisions are made about what we can do together. And it is something to behold. It is something to celebrate. Dr. Dixon, I want to thank you again for giving us the opportunity to share more, because there is indeed so much to share. Thank you again once more, and thank you to my team, my PS, my Minister of State, and the entire Foreign Affairs team, and our ministries, departments, and agencies that have worked so well with us in the biggest marketplace ever, with the most sponsors ever. Thank you to everyone. It's been an amazing experience so far.
Thank you, Minister Johnson-Smith. All your hard work is paying off, and I'm going to have our Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs also speak, and then he'll be followed right after by Dr. Brown to give their comments on this very, very awesome conference that we're having in Montego Bay.
Thank you so much, Minister. Good morning, Minister Johnson-Smith, to our Permanent Secretary, members of the Legacy Partner Team, other sponsors who are in fact present, to you in wider Jamaica and beyond in the diaspora. This conference, the Jamaica Biennial Conference 2024, it really has been, a most energetic conference. The Montego Bay Convention Center has been abuzz with one clear message, and that clear message has been about unity. Members of the diaspora have indicated that they too want to continue to play their part in advancing the welfare of Jamaicans at home and Jamaicans abroad. And one of the strongest feedbacks from this conference is the inclusivity with which the government has approached diaspora affairs over the last few years. Certainly with the inauguration of the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council and the Global Jamaica Diaspora Youth Council in 2020 under the stewardship of Minister Johnson-Smith, we have taken the diaspora beyond the traditional areas. In the past, we had 8 conference members, or rather 8 diaspora members represented as a form of the diaspora board. Now that number has extended to 30. We now have diaspora reps, including sector leaders. So there's a diaspora sector leader who is well experienced in terms of crime and citizen security, and he sits and advises and helps to make contributions, positive contributions to the Ministry of National Security. There's a diaspora rep who is charged with education. Again, she has direct link to the Ministry of Education and so forth in other fields, including the creative industry and tourism. And so these are some of the changes that we have made as we have extended the 8-member advisory board panel to now a 30-member global diaspora council that includes non-traditional areas. You'd have heard Minister Johnson speak about the African continent. You'd have heard her mention in terms of the Far East as well, including Australia, the Caribbean, including Latin America as well. So that has been the outcome of listening to our diasporans across the world as to how it is that we can have greater inclusivity. With inclusivity, that means there's a spirit of unity, not fragmentation. And at the conference, we have been speaking with one voice, and that voice is Brand Jamaica, protecting Brand Jamaica. Long after Minister Johnson-Smith is gone, long after I have gone, our permanent secretary, members of the opposition, members of the government, Brand Jamaica remains. And we must all play our part to protect Brand Jamaica in that spirit of one voice, one Jamaica, united and not fragmented. And so those are some of the positive feedbacks coming out of the conference. In terms of the marketplace has seen government at your service, including members of the private sector. So governments, agencies, departments who have been represented, PICA, for example, and the RGD. The RGD has been dealing with in terms of citizen heritage and tracing and birth certificates. PICA has been dealing with providing passports. There is one gentleman who indicated that there's an incident involving his daughter some 20 years ago, and he has been trying to get his passport. And with the assistance of Minister, working with the representatives from PICA, his passport is now well on the way and will be delivered to him in a matter of weeks. And these are some of the success stories that are happening here. So part of the promotion for this conference was explaining to the diaspora, come here, you can meet with government agencies, departments, you can meet with the private sector. Members, for example, have now been speaking with Victoria Mutual. They have been speaking with Jamaica National, how to invest in Jamaica, how to secure their mortgages. NHTs also represented. And so this conference has really been a global approach, a united approach to assist and to empower members of the diaspora. As we continue with the schedule, we've noticed some of the key discussions coming out of it and some of the targeted areas, great suggestions around education, great suggestions around agriculture, great suggestions around improving the health industry. We've also had great recommendations, including citizen security, and the list continues. Hart also did a wonderful presentation that was well received yesterday, speaking about skills training as the cornerstone, or rather skills training at the heart of Jamaica's growth and development. And we would have impressed upon the diaspora what it means to have you know, our Prime Minister has always maintained that for Jamaica truly to take its place, you know, as a digital society, we must not only be consumers of technology, but we must be producers of technology. And these are some of the programs that Hart has been doing in terms of putting technology forward. So Hart graduates are no longer only learning about, let's say, for example, housekeeping to work in a hotel. We are training them with the requisite skills in global technology that they could be working in aeronautics, ship repairs, in computer world, in the intelligence system. And so these are some of the transformational things that are taking place in Jamaica. And the diaspora, they are eager to lend their voice to be a part of this. So the conference, I was asked yesterday, Minister, do you consider this conference a success? I said it is a resounding success. And you know, there are some persons who thought maybe we would not have had 200 persons here. You know, we've had a record-breaking more than 1,200 registered attendees, making it the largest, the biggest, the best, the most successful conference over the last 20 years. And again, this stems from a concerted effort. You know, the Prime Minister at every turn, you know, in his meetings with Minister Johnson Smith, in his discussions with myself, he's always been keen on diaspora engagement. Where are we? You know, we've heard of this thing happening here. How are we going to fix it? How are we going to reach out to more areas, to more persons across the diaspora? And one of the things that we did in terms of planning this program, we had a series of regional conferences over the last year. There's a regional conference in Africa, regional conference in the United Kingdom, regional conference in Canada, across the US. We had a virtual conference with Western Europe, led by our host High Commissioner, or host ambassador rather, in France for Western Europe, and also a regional Caribbean conference. Again, these were truly historic, and the discussions coming out of the engagement with diasporans, they serve to form the content of the program. So when we spoke about Hart, when we spoke about customs and you, how to get goods into the country hassle-free, when we spoke about improvements in citizen security, the health sector, education, agro-businesses, a great presentation yesterday by Minister Floyd Green, not just about agriculture, but also about the fisheries industry and mining, you know, mentioning that Jamaica's limestone is one of the purest forms of limestone, and you could very well find it in your Tums and in your toothpaste. That is the extent and reach of the Jamaican product. So Jamaica is no longer vacation destination. Jamaica has simply transformed over the last few years as destination trade and investment, and the diasporans, they want to capitalize on that. They have recognized that this government, with completely, I want to say, very clever investment policies and have created a resilient economy. We have seen the debt to GDP ratio fall from 144% to 72%, and provided we continue on this trajectory, the debt to GDP ratio come next year would have been further reduced to 62%. And so the diaspora, they recognize it is now time for them to capitalize on the investment opportunities, and they are here forging relationships, forging partnerships, and they are all about investing in brand Jamaica for its continued growth and development. So those are some of the highlights and successes coming out of the conference that I wish to share with you. And I could say also, before I go, in terms of agriculture, one consideration that we are looking at to come out of this conference is developing a sort of agro-StockX market, where persons, if you live in France, and you know that you really want to invest in the agricultural industry, but you can't own a farm, or you don't have time to plan exactly what should grow, you're concerned about safety and security, how do we create an investment pool, an investment portal to invest in the agro-businesses whilst you can be in France, you could be in Ghana, and just watching your money grows along with the beautiful trees and food right here in Jamaica. I thank you so much for your time. Cheers.
Minister, you've done a wonderful job in summarizing the last 2 days, and the conference continues today. Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Kevin Brown, President of the University of Technology, but I'm also one of Jamaica's most recent returnees. I've been spent 23 years in the United Kingdom. I'm now back, just 8 months, and it's a pleasure to be home. But I must also start by thanking the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade for giving me the opportunity to serve as the chair of the Program and Content Subcommittee. While I was in the United Kingdom, I was also actively engaged in the diaspora. If there's anyone out there that is questioning whether Jamaica's engagement with the diaspora is effective, and if we have truly created a bridge between the government of Jamaica, the people of Jamaica, and the diaspora, well, I think I stand here as a testimony that it actually is working, and that we have a structure that has, to my mind, positively contributed to Jamaica's development. And what do I mean by this? The Diaspora Engagement Project started around 2004. And I have been involved in the Diaspora Project in the UK specifically since 2006 as a youth diaspora leader. I was young once. And my engagement with the government of Jamaica through the Diaspora Project and the build-out of diaspora organizations has continued throughout. And even now, as you can see, they have still held on to me, which I'm grateful for. I'm always happy to serve. And so from my UK experience in the terms of diaspora engagement, we have seen the development of formal structures. You would have heard of the advisory board, which predates the now new Global Jamaica Diaspora Council, where we had representatives from the main 3 regions on the advisory board, or the United States, Canada, and Britain. We have grown. Minister spoke about the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council having 30 members. So the government has acknowledged that the diaspora lives everywhere, right? I'm sure perhaps at some point we'll have heard that there's a Jamaican living in Antarctica or somewhere like that. I see Minister shaking her head, so maybe that has happened. Well, there you go. Thank you, Minister. The Minister has confirmed, indeed. And so what we're seeing from the government is a recognition that we are truly a global migratory society that will continue, and that the engagement now is deepening. I'm not going to sort of summarize the conference, because I think Minister Johnson and Minister Johnson Smith and Minister Terry Long did a great job. What I want to highlight is that beyond the conference, there is impact. And the impact is not just about inviting the diaspora to continue to provide remittances, which is significant. And it's not just about inviting the diaspora to invest in the country. And we are investing. The diaspora is investing significantly. But we are also shifting now to how can we engage the human resource of the diaspora, the human capital. How can we tap into the best and brightest minds overseas and bring them home, like myself, or they stay where they are but still engage in a meaningful way. And so I just want to say that the shift now is about brain gain. For many years, we have spoken about brain drain, and indeed we lose a lot of Jamaicans. The data shows that 80% of Jamaicans with tertiary education leave Jamaica. 23 years ago, I was part of that statistic. But what we have now is a commitment, I believe, by the government to engage Jamaicans who have significant professional experience to either come home or to continue to contribute. And these conferences are a forum for that networking and for those opportunities to be explored. And as Minister stated earlier, we will have the launch of a diaspora portal, which will further that engagement. So my message to everyone out there is that the Diaspora Project continues. This diaspora engagement transcends administrations, and that the commitment is bearing fruit. And I'm happy to be home. I thank everyone involved who allowed that to happen. And I want to see more of my fellow diasporans come home. My final thing to say is that Minister Terry Long spoke about Heart NSTA, and indeed they are at the heart of where we need to go next in terms of the technological development of Jamaica. But I also, it would be remiss of me not to speak of the importance of tertiary education. So, and I know my minister is coming next, Minister Favour Williams, but very briefly I'd just like to say that tertiary education also, complementing what Heart is doing, is central to Jamaica in terms of our desire to be a knowledge-based economy, a society that has a workforce ready for the future. And so UTEC is also making those changes, and I say this because I am now making a call, if the minister will allow me, to my fellow diasporans with significant academic and professional background, that the University of Technology and the other tertiary institutions here in Jamaica need you. We need your expertise, and through technology, you don't all have to come home. We can engage with you, and the opportunities are there for you to continue your academic practice, and also to help our students to learn from you, and to also be work ready, not just for Jamaica, but the region and the globe as well. So I want to thank the government of Jamaica, our legacy partners. You know, one of the beautiful things about the Diaspora Conference is that it shows that private and public sector partnerships work and work effectively, and have been delivering these conferences for 20 years, right? So I want to congratulate everyone involved, and thank you again for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Dr. Brown, for that plug of UTEC and also of the diaspora. You're a great example of the diaspora returning home and contributing in such an important way, which is running our national university. UTEC is our national university and is one of the premier institutions providing the kind of technology, digital kind of workforce that we need. And so we thank you for your work in the diaspora. We also thank you for still loving Jamaica as much as you do, to leave that fabulous life that you had and to come here and to serve your country. We do appreciate it. Also, we do have to hear from one other person from the diaspora, someone who's in the diaspora at this time, and I will ask him to speak for a few minutes on the Diaspora Conference, how he has seen it. And this is Mr. Hugh Simmons, who is the chair of what I would call, in terms of our parlance, it would be, you know, of the Culture Committee, but it is really the chair of the Arts, Sports, and Culture Committee of the Global Diaspora Council. And he's here. Many times when we think of the diaspora, we think of the support we get in education, in healthcare, but we actually get a lot of support in other areas, and the creative industries is a critical driver of our economy, and the diaspora also has a lot to say and a lot to contribute in that area. And so we have Mr. Simmons here, and he will say a few words, and then we will open it up to the questions from the media. And media, remember, you have the legacy partners here too. You know, I know Courtney Campbell would love to answer why he still supports us after all these years. So I'm going to invite Mr. Simmons to come and speak to you for a few minutes.
Good morning. The honor and privilege is mine. I recognize the dignitaries. Since I'm not a diplomat, I can say all protocols observed. I want to take the opportunity to express my thanks to the government and people of Jamaica for hosting this, the 10th Biennial Jamaica Diaspora Conference. I am Dr. Hugh Simmons, Arts, Sports, and Culture Sector Lead on the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council. I have the opportunity to serve, having interacted with the best that Jamaica has to offer at home and abroad, with the conference underway here in Montego Bay, Jamaica. The power of Jamaica is not just about its brand. It's about the history of the land, its people, its role in global society and global culture. And from Arthur Wint, George Roden, Herb McKinley to Donald Quarry, to Asafa, to Usain Bolt, from Merlin Ottey, to Grace Jackson, to Shelley-Ann Fraser-Price, or gold medal defending champion Elaine. Jamaica is not just about its brand and its people. It's about what its contribution is as a cultural gradient in the globe and its place as a little but Talwa nation. The Global Jamaica Diaspora Conference here represents one of the best things that we have to offer to Jamaicans at yard and abroad. And being here with so many well-thinking Jamaicans, friends of Jamaica who wants the best for her, we have had the opportunity to have spirited conversations with and without the alcohol. And one of the beauty about that is the dialogue is rich, it's forward-thinking, and it is also one that shows not just passion, but it shows intentional action on behalf of Jamaicans at home and abroad. And I want to take the opportunity to thank the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade and the excellent team that has really worked in the background to bring what we're here experiencing in Montego Bay. To our legacy partners, I want to thank our legacy partners from Grace, VMBS, Jamaica National, and the other sponsors who made it possible. When I think of our cultural and creative industries, we haven't tapped into what's possible. We haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg. So, Minister, even if a Rastaman lives in Antarctica, or in 1996 I had the opportunity to know that the head nurse at the General Hospital in Reykjavik was from Jamaica in Iceland. Bob Marley says, movement of the people. And we're going to move. We have Dr. Brown move and come back a yard. And one thing that we recognize is how do we create a bridge that says to us, you're welcome to come back, you're welcome to move, and you're welcome to even have it hybrid. Come here when it cold abroad and take the warmth a yard. So when we think of Jamaica, it's not just about, and I want to say this unapologetically, it's not about remittances. It's about reminding of us what matters. And Jamaica is never far from our hearts and our minds. And I am situated in the Northern Climes, situated in Toronto, Canada, but have the opportunity not only to serve Jamaica and her people, but also help her realize the best of what she has to offer to the world. And that is the people, the promise, and what's possible. And what is possible is why we're here today. So when we think of the cultural industries, it's not monolithic as we shared in our panel on day 2. It is actually multi-pronged, and my hope in working with members of the diaspora and the government of Jamaica is to build on the cultural mapping that UNESCO started with the cultural sectors here and the government and civil society, and really engage our Jamaicans to say what really matters when we think about our music. You know, we have a Bob Marley Island in Asia, and we just had the screening of Bob Marley movie earlier this year. What has that done for brand Jamaica? It has just reminded people that not only that are we Talawa, but the beauty is that we always remind, we have to bust out sometime and remind people we're still here. And when I say that, I want us to understand in the center, the vernacular. We always hear nothing and go on a yard. and we have to go abroad. I want to remind you that whether you're at yard or abroad, Jamaica is happening. As a child, I've had the privilege to go to school, attended a high school. I don't say I go to school. I attended Clarendon College, and I remember having to, thank you, represent my school internationally and attending meetings of Alumni Association. It took me about 2.5, 3 hours to get to Kingston on a minibus at that time. I tell you, I have the opportunity now to get to Maypen in Clarendon from Kingston within 45 minutes. Not Jamaican driving, but international driving. So when we talk about what is happening for our people, we see the work that is being done in Kingston. And Kingston is indeed the most creative city in the Western Hemisphere, hands down. And I want to remind you of the work that has been happening here. Our greatest export is our people, but our greatest asset is our culture. And we emanate the energy, the experience, and the expertise we bring, and the swagger that it is to be Jamaican. And I really want to, I see one of my friends and a Jamaican who come back a yard, Andrea Dempster Chung here from Kingston Creative, and I want to commend her and the team for bringing back the essence of what Kingston, Jamaica is. There are about 7 Kingstons globally, but there's none that compares to Kingston, Jamaica. And I'm here in the second city, Montego Bay, Jamaica, having the privilege of being on the Gold Coast. And when I see what is possible, when we understand the promise, the cultural industries, from sports, music, arts, digital media, right back to the very music, the athletes have swagger. The musician, they bring you their mirage of talents, and they bring you the message of hope and wagwan at yard and abroad. And I want to remind us that when we think of the creative and the cultural industries, Jamaica needs the opportunity to create funding to engender the realization of that promise. So people, it is the people who will help us amplify the brand. The legacy of Jamaica and its people comes in understanding from government, civil society, and communities and citizens for us to walk hand in hand, collaborating, partnering, and standing in unity. When I say Jamaica creatives, when I say cultural sector, I speak of the fact that whether you are of any persuasion, the promise, the possibility, and the potential lies in us standing in unity. And the cultural and creative industries are a bridge to building on the promise, the possibility, and amplifying the best of what her people has to offer. I thank you for the opportunity to share, and I invite you to reach out to the members of the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council, and I make myself available so we can have that spirited conversation with or without the alcohol. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Simmons. You know, it's always good to hear from a participant, someone from the diaspora, and this is how we know God is good, right? Yesterday, very late last night, we were talking about today and finishing up the arrangements for the press briefing, and we said, we need to find the right person from the diaspora. And I was walking out, and there is Andrea, and then there is Hugh, and we got to talking, and I was like, tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. You need to be here. And you are the perfect person to be here this morning and talking about what this conference really is about. And so, ministers, legacy partners, or PS, you see why we have to continue doing this. I mean, this is testament to why this has value, and so I thank you, Mr. Simmons, for being here, and I now invite Minister Johnson-Smith back to the podium to take some questions. And I have to note, Minister Favour Williams has some important things to speak about. She will be joining remotely via Zoom. I know some of the individuals in this room have to leave for the conference, but she will be joining via Zoom, and she will be taking questions from the media also. So once these questions are finished on the Diaspora conference, we will then quickly move to Minister Favour Williams, Minister of Education and Youth. Minister Johnson-Smith.
Thank you, Minister Morris Dixon. And before I take any questions, there is something that I very much forgot to say. We had, hold on, stick up in. Minister Williams to speak first? No. Okay, just making sure, as I just saw her pop up on the screen. Yes, sorry, I thought I might have misunderstood. But we've been focusing quite a bit on investment and diaspora investment and partnership, but there's a very foundational aspect of the diaspora, which I did not mention before, and it has been a feature of our conferences, and that is diaspora giving. Not remittances, which is family to family, but giving to schools, to communities, to health sector, and this is reflected institutionally in our Diaspora Day of Service, which this year takes place tomorrow, with 17 projects across 6 parishes. We have 8 in St. James, clearly because most people are here, so they are found, which range across community development, healthcare, and educational sector. And in the education sector, it ranges from care packages and wellness and motivational speaking to actual engagement and provision of educational material. We have Food for the Poor that is here, building a house for a destitute family of 5. And persons have been engaging and joining in the projects, so registering throughout the week, so that they can be a part of any of these 17 projects. So we have 1 in Portland, 1 in Kingston, we have a couple in St. Anne, a couple in St. Elizabeth, and as I mentioned, 8 in St. James. The math you can work out. But I just wanted to share with you that giving is actually a very big part of it. The spirit of philanthropy is a means of connection for our diasporans, and it is one of the, I think, strongest demonstrations of the selflessness and the connectivity that exists between us. So I thought it would be remiss of me to not mention that expressly, even as I spoke to all the other areas. Pardon me for taking up your question time. The floor is yours, if there are any.
Good morning, Jamaica. So I have 2 questions. The first one has to do with diaspora engagement. I know there's a session later today, but what are some of the ways in which the diaspora, members of the diaspora, will be engaged in the CRC process? I know yesterday the opposition leader was saying that it has to be inclusive, including members of the diaspora. And right. 2, I understand that there are some challenges. I know it exceeded the target with persons registering yesterday, and they had to receive temporary passes. Can you confirm this, and how has it been addressed?
So let me start with the matter of diaspora engagement, which is the process in which we are currently engaged, and on the CRC in particular. So there's a panel on constitutional reform. Minister Malahoo Fort and members of the CRC will be conducting a panel, going into details, taking questions. But there have also been sessions that have been held virtually and in the diaspora, where we have been sharing. Minister Malahoo Fort, when she has traveled on official business, has made the time to engage with the diaspora and to take questions and to share information about what has been happening in the Constitutional Reform Committee, and hearing views on where the diaspora thinks things should go. So the conversation is happening. It is, and thank you for the question, because it gives me the opportunity to tell Jamaica that the conversations are actually happening and will continue to happen. So the diaspora is a part of of our process, and not just in word, but in deed. On the matter of registration, in any conference where you have a registration process where most of the people decide to come on a particular day. We know persons came before, for example, they registered on Sunday before our reception, etc. Process was seamless because the flow of people was manageable. But when the river of people came down, it was a good problem to have, because what it meant was that people were here, they were excited, they were ready, and they all wanted to attend at the start of the time. And so we were able to facilitate with temporary passes, which helped to meet their need and the time constraint. And so I'm happy you asked that question, because it helps us to share how it is that we deal with some of the logistical issues in a positive and effective way. So thank you for both of your questions. Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
Horace Hines, Jamaica Observer. The New York consulate seems to be processing a large number of passports, which really should be the responsibility of PICA.
Yes.
Are there any efforts to get the Ministry of National Security to provide additional resources to complement the work of the consulate?
Yes. Literally, this has been one of the issues that first came to my attention from 2016, and it has been something that we have been working on. And the move that we have just made in New York to a larger space is actually to facilitate also a mini PICA, what I call a mini PICA. Because what happens is that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs staff facilitates in the consulates PICA support. We have 1 or 2 PICA resources, but we also have to facilitate because the volumes are so high. And that reduces the time that we're able to spend on other consular matters. So it is labor of love and always carried out to the best of our abilities, but the volumes are just very high. And there is increased appetite among our Jamaicans overseas to get that passport, to get their children's citizenship, and to get their children's passports. And because many of them left before the machine-readable passports, they're unable to use the online facility because they have the old blue one, the handwritten one. And really, at this point, because of for security and the elimination of fraud or other issues, the process for online applications is still limited to adults who have a machine-readable passport that has expired. So we, in short, we have been working with the Ministry of National Security and with PICA itself about resourcing a mini PICA in New York. I will say proudly, however, though, that notwithstanding the high volumes, under the leadership of Consul General Wilson, New York used to be the most complained about mission, historically. And the complaint levels have fallen, the praise levels have grown, and the new space and new resourcing, we think with this reconfiguration, will help even better to serve our population. And it's much closer to the subway as well, so more people are able to come. The volumes, but we're working one way or another, we're working with it.
Minister Terrell mentioned the agro-stock X.
Agro-stock X.
How far are we down the wicket with this development?
So, as indicated, it is one of the outcomes that we will be considering going forward. So from the discussions had with Minister Green yesterday, and just the enthusiasm and the interest displayed by members across the diaspora. So throughout our travels, we have always been promoting the agro-industry. We have recognized that certainly over the last 40 years, we are now seeing unprecedented growth across many different sectors. The demand for orchard crops across the world. Ackee has now become the new vegetarian fruit. It is the new scrambled egg of the world. The demand for breadfruit, the demand for mangoes and other crops. So this all provides a great opportunity for investment in Jamaica's agro-industries. But you do have some investors, persons who are not farmers per se, but they wish to capitalize on the growth sectors across, whether it's agriculture, fisheries, or mining. And what we are looking at now with members of the diaspora, which is a concept to be further discussed with Minister Green and his team, is how do we now develop this bank of resources? So if you have $5 million, how can you invest that $5 million in a sort of agro StockX market? And that $5 million will now grow because that is now put into a pool where whether it's being invested in orchard crops or in the fisheries industries, etc. So you don't have to be, as I said, you could be in Ghana, you could be in Nigeria, South Africa, you could be in Chile or Panama, but you can get the rates of returns out of the farming sector. So it's a wonderful concept, and we're hoping that in the next few years that this could also be one of the deliverables or one of the outcomes. Minister Johnson spoke about conferences. So in terms of continuing the discussions, in terms of pooling ideas together, we also look at deliverables. What are the outcomes from each conference? So Minister would have also spoken about the Jamaica Diaspora Registration Portal and the JAMDEM and so forth. So we're looking always, when we leave conferences, what are the deliverables? And we do believe that this would be an amazing deliverable because one that also helps the diasporans to invest and capitalize on the growth in our agriculture, fisheries, and mining sectors. Thank you.
Right, thank you, ministers. It seems as if we don't have, oh, there's one more. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Okay, good morning to you all. My name is Anthony Lewis, Nationwide Radio and Jamaica Observer. My question is, there has been a suggestion on radio recently where members of the diaspora are suggesting that apart from the usual in terms of remittance and assisting the country in general, they would like to be also a part of government. I would like to hear maybe from the minister, what's your take on it? Members of the diaspora being a part of the government directly.
Sure, this is, it has been a matter for discussion for years within the diaspora. And there is still no single view, whether among the diaspora or in Jamaica, about this issue. Meaning there are diasporans who believe that they should be a part of government, meaning that they're able to serve at every level and in every way that they wish to serve in their country of birth. And then there are diasporans who believe that if they have moved away, if they do not have to bear the consequences of their decisions because they have chosen to live elsewhere, that they should not, that they serve in different ways. And this is a debate that actually happens within the diaspora. There are different views. It's a constitutional issue, and I'm sure it's an issue that will also be discussed by the CRC panel later, because it is grounded in the Constitution, how it defines eligibility to serve. And it is a matter that has actually been considered by the CRC. So I think that if you consider the constitutional perspective, that is a discussion which continues locally and in the diaspora. And then if you consider that there is no single view, and therefore there is the conversation actually continues to happen even among those persons who live overseas, you recognize that it is a matter which continues to have differing perspectives, differing views, and it is just ripe for continued discussion, which is taking place here at the conference, we're happy to say. Thank you.
Kelisha Williams again from Television Jamaica. Yesterday, President Biden announced that an executive action which should protect the spouses of undocumented migrants. I would like to know your take on this. I know Jamaica is among the largest group of migrants. For a small country in the United States, what's your take on this, and how could those undocumented Jamaicans benefit from this?
Yeah, we think it is an entirely positive development for our community overseas. It is specifically for spouses who entered for more than 10 years, meaning they've been resident in the US for more than 10 years, and who may not have entered legally but have married. because the laws actually said before that they would have to go back home in order to regularize and then apply to come back, which would mean separation from family, there would be children, etc. And now what they can do is remain there within a process in order to regularize themselves. So we think that it is a step that is a positive reflection of the recognition of the immigrant community to the growth and development and the social cohesion of the United States, which is what we always say, that when we consider migration, we don't only think about illegal migration or think about persons being a burden on society, but we think about how it is that even as us Jamaicans specifically, how we grow and contribute to the growth of other countries when we migrate. And so that the positive cycle of migration is something that we're always very pleased when it's recognized by the host country. And this decision that has been taken, we know it will positively impact families. We know it will positively impact Jamaican families. I don't have numbers for the persons. This is a very recent development. But we do know that people are being encouraged, and we encourage Jamaicans who may be listening overseas to get guidance from attorneys as to your eligibility before you engage the process, so that you ensure that when you do, there's a positive result. You may think that it is, if you have been in an irregular situation, that you shouldn't engage, but we encourage you, get advice, get good legitimate advice, not somebody on the corner who said I'm here, say no say, but get the proper advice. It's worth the investment. And in fact, you can call the consulate or the mission to get a recommendation for an attorney, because we sometimes have people in the community who are willing to give that advice, and they're very well informed. So I want to encourage you very much to reach out and find out about this new rule that will allow that if you entered the country illegally more than 10 years ago and you have married a US citizen, whether you are eligible to now regularize yourself and get your citizenship. Thank you very much for that question.
Thank you, Minister, and that's why I know that I have the best cabinet colleagues. You can have a lovely question from the media about an order from the US yesterday, and she has a very good answer and understands the issues inside out. So I do have the best colleagues in the cabinet. We're going to be switching gears, and I thank you all for all the questions in relation to the Diaspora Conference and for all of you who have participated. And we're going to be going to the Minister of Education. But before I do that, I do need to note one issue coming out of Cabinet this week. This is the post-Cabinet press briefing. The Cabinet discussed recent reports relating to issues in the health sector. And the Prime Minister expressed very strongly the need to understand the circumstances around a lot of these matters. And two that were very prominent last week, especially on social media, included the death of a baby, and there were discussions around the availability of a ventilator for that baby. There was also an issue in relation to Falmouth Hospital and the care that was provided to a mother. When you watch or listen to any of those stories, they are heartbreaking. And the Prime Minister was very moved by those stories, and he has asked the Ministry of Health, the leadership of the Ministry of Health, to come to Cabinet next week to explain the circumstances around those situations, plus also to generally discuss issues in the sector and also patient care. They will be coming on Monday next week to Cabinet. This is how strongly the Prime Minister and the Cabinet views these issues. And next week at our post-Cabinet press briefing, I will report on the outcomes of those discussions. The Prime Minister wants to know what has happened. He also wants to know how we move forward as quickly as possible to address those situations and to not have any other mother have that loss of a baby in that manner, or a child have to speak about the death of their mother. And so rest assured that the government hears what's being discussed. We also have serious concerns about what has happened, and we are going to get to the bottom of it, and we are going to put in place measures to ensure that we do not have these situations taking place going forward. And so we will discuss that next week. And so I now move on to Minister Favour Williams, who has been waiting so patiently to brief you on some very important education matters. Thank you, Minister Williams. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much. Allow me to begin by acknowledging my colleague ministers, Senator the Honorable Dana Morris Dixon, Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith, and Minister Terry Long. Let me as well greet our newest president of UTEC, Dr. Kevin Brown. Thank you for taking up the call to return to Jamaica. Let me acknowledge the respective teams from across the various ministries, including the Ministry of Education and Youth, members from the media, legacy and current diaspora partners and sponsors, members of the diaspora, and Jamaicans all. Happy Wednesday and a good morning to everyone. But let me say a very special good morning and best of everything to all our grade 4 primary school students who are sitting the PEP, Primary Exit Profile exam, today and tomorrow. And let me continue in gratitude to all of you from the diaspora for your continued support and belief in our great country, Jamaica, and more importantly, in the work we do through the Ministry of Education and Youth to transform education for national development. So I will begin with a very exciting announcement this morning. We're pleased to announce that after several years of work, we can roll out our prior learning assessment and recognition initiative. The best way to explain this exciting initiative is to consider the following example. Imagine you've been providing care for elderly persons in their homes, and you have been doing this consistently for the past 10 years. You've gained very useful experience in how to care for the elderly. The issue is that after 10 years of working in this field, despite the very real experience, you have no certification. This program, Prior Learning Assessment and Recognition, would allow your 10 years of experience to be assessed, and recognition, or credits, as they would say in the United States, would be given, and you would know where on our national qualification framework your experience ranks. And as you can see, I hope you can see a slide that shows what our national qualification framework of Jamaica looks like. It aligns general education with technical and vocational education, with occupational degrees, with tertiary, and now we're able to include prior learning assessment and recognition for lifelong learning. This initiative that we're rolling out is also applicable to our thousands of young people who may have acquired very good experience in various areas of work and have no certification. The prior learning assessment and recognition allows our young people to gain recognition or credits for the skills and knowledge they already possess, and as such enhance their educational and career opportunities. The good news is you don't have to start over. Your years of experience can be recognized under this program and mapped into Jamaica's national qualification framework, which itself is mapped to the national qualification framework in countries such as the US. And best of all, through the Jamaica Tertiary Education Commission, JTEC, an entity of the Ministry of Education and Youth led by Dr. Black, it ensures compliance with standards and gives guidance to employers as they do the assessment against the national qualifications framework of Jamaica. So we look forward to the full implementation of this program. We know that there are many in Jamaica for whom it's applicable, and we want them to get on with their journey for education. We move now to our Aspiring Principals program. It's a very exciting program of which we are quite pleased. We're happy to announce that last Friday, we graduated 55 classroom teachers who indicated they aspire to be principals. This program prepares classroom teachers to be principals. You must be successful in order to be considered. The areas of study include areas such as school financial and administrative management, instructional and community leadership. The program is delivered in partnership with the University of the West Indies and is a postgraduate level program. Congratulations to all the principals, to all the classroom teachers who are now aspiring principals. Good luck in your endeavor. We did graduate in terms of, when you look at the gender, 41 females and 14 males in our system. We move on to another, and I'm going to say again, exciting initiative, and that is our parent mentors. We're pleased to announce that as we complete the school year, we have some 85,890 parents who have accessed our parenting program, the largest number of parents ever to do so. You will see on the slide the variety of seminars that parents had access to, and these included topics such as being a supportive parent, building self-esteem in children, being a present parent, emotional and mental health. Those are just a few of the seminars that were offered. We are delighted that so many parents made the effort to participate in one or more of these seminars. Our goal for the next school year, which begins in September, is to have another 85,000 parents participate. Those who have already done so, they can always come back again and take other seminars. And you can see we have a wide variety of topics up there. Additionally, it was only last week that we added a new component to our parenting program. It is called Men Who Mentor. Last week, we welcomed 150 men into our Men Who Mentor program. As you know, here in Jamaica, our boys are at greater risk of being left behind for a number of reasons. We know that our boys learn differently. We also know that our boys need male role models to guide them and to help them stay on track. Men Who Mentor will participate in training modules that are designed to enhance their parenting skills and empower them to mentor the next generation of men and eventually fathers. Through programs like these, we know we can have the positive impact on families and communities across the island. And finally, we want to let you know, as our Diaspora, of our Transformation Ambassador program. We are beginning the rollout of that program. It is a change management initiative designed to inform stakeholders of the changes to come under the Education Transformation Program, to receive feedback for improvements. We're formally launching our Transformation Ambassadors program to include all sectors of education and the larger society, including the diaspora. We call on you to be ambassadors for our education sector. We know you do a lot already in our schools, and we thank you so much for all that you've been doing over the years. In closing, I want to invite you all to become active and vested participants in transforming education for national development. This is going to span 8 years. We've already completed 1 year. It is not designed solely for those in the education sectors. We want all stakeholders to come on board. We want you to help us spread the good news in our sector, and more importantly, to join in what we do. After all, it's the collective effort of each of us that will move the education sector forward. Again, I state that our commitment remains to our students, our teachers, our families, board members, auxiliary staff, and everyone who work at transforming our education sector. for the good of our country. Thank you so much, and I am so pleased to be able to participate in this morning's post-cabinet press briefing and to let you know what are some of the things that we continue to do in the education sector under the banner Transforming Education for National Development. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Minister Williams. As you hear, there's a lot happening in our education sector. We know it is going to be the driver of the future of our country. And I know almost every week, Minister Williams has very exciting news to give up post-cabinet. And that just says that she and her team are working really, really hard in addressing the issues that we have in the sector. I'm not sure, are there any questions from the media for Minister Williams? I mean, those initiatives are very clear, and I hope you do put them on radio, television, and in the newspapers, because those are very important things, from the parenting to the mentoring, the men who mentor. Those are all fabulous initiatives, and a lot of times we say nothing not going on in Jamaica, but she has just given a lot of what is happening. I know we're over time. I don't see any questions, Minister Williams, so we will take it that they have all agreed to put it on the news tonight and into tomorrow. That's what I get from it. And I would have to close out our session for today. As I said, next week we will be back at Jamaica House. Oh, there is one question. Okay, sure. And it's for Minister Williams or generally?
Minister Williams.
Okay, go
so
ahead.
the Men Who Mentor program, I would like to know how persons who are interested could access it.
Okay, thank you for that question. Our National Parenting Support Commission is the lead entity with that. They have their information on their website, numbers, email, access, and they would be the entity through which you indicate your interest in the program.
Thank you. And we have a special guest who has a birthday today, I'm told, Jeannie Robinson Foster. We're here in Montego Bay. Jeannie is an institution in Montego Bay, and she came by to see the post-cabinet press briefing that was being held in Montego Bay, and it's her birthday, and so I have to say happy birthday to Jeannie. Thank you for being here, and thank you all for your support again to the legacy partners. Thank you. We couldn't do this Diaspora conference without you. To our excellent leadership in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Minister Johnson Smith, Minister Orlando Terrelong, and our wonderful PS Ambassador Sheila Monteith Sealy. I think it's that order. Sealy Monteith. You know, and I should know this. She was probably my first boss ever. I was an intern in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and she took me in hand, and I learned so much about being a graceful and a very professional person from her. And so I know that this would have been a fantastic event with you as PS in that ministry. And so I do recognize you for all your work you do, and thank you to the entire Ministry of Foreign Affairs team. I cannot not say thank you to the GIS team. We have a fantastic team at GIS. They have put on this event. I asked them, let's do something different and come to the Diaspora conference, and they said, yes, Minister, we can do it. They had their teams come down. We had to do that broadcast with Minister Williams. You saw how smoothly it went. They have amazing technology, and they're an amazing team, and they are led by the wonderful CEO. Entros, you're not going to stand up and wave. We're saying thank you to you and the entire GIS team for your work here, and you are broadcasting all of the Diaspora conference. It's online. It's the GIS team that is doing this. We have such tremendous talent in our country, and we have to acknowledge it at every step of the way. And so thank you, GIS, and thank you all. And this is the end of our post-cabinet press briefing for this week. Thank you.
This is how we trade.